Imagine for a second a hard drive, brand new, right out of the box. Maybe you just ordered it online, you peel off that satisfying plastic film. It's pristine, it's shiny, it looks high-tech. But here's the reality. It's completely empty.
Right.
It's effectively useless until you plug it in and start transferring files onto it. You have to fill it up.
It's a container. Its value is derived entirely from its content.
Exactly. It's a storage device. Input equals value. Now, I want you to completely shift gears. Close your eyes if you have to. Imagine a well. A deep, ancient stone well sitting in the middle of a quiet forest. You don't fill a well with water.
No.
You don't drag a hose over and pump water into it. The water is already there.
Yeah.
It's been there for 1,000 years, deep underground, sourced from an aquifer that connects to the very earth itself.
The mechanism is different.
Completely different. With a well, your job isn't to fill it. Your job is to dig. You have to shovel away the dirt, move the heavy rocks, clear out the silt and the debris. You have to clear the path so that the water, which is already there, can spring up.
One is a process of addition. The other is a process of revelation.
And that evocative distinction brings me to the question that's going to drive our entire conversation today. It's a question that might make you a little uncomfortable, but I think we have to ask it.
Yeah.
When you look at a child, your child, my child, any student walking into a classroom in 2026, what do you see? Do you see the hard drive waiting to be filled with data? Or do you see the well waiting to be uncovered?
That is the fundamental question of our time. And if we're honest, looking at the modern education landscape, we have bet the farm on the hard drive model.
Oh, absolutely. The entire system is built on input.
Yeah.
I don't know chemistry.
Yeah.
The teacher puts chemistry in my head. Now I know chemistry.
Yes.
We treat kids like empty USB sticks.
But today, we're exploring the flip side. We are looking at what we're calling the Rishi paradigm. It's the view that the child is not an empty vessel, but a hidden source, a drashta, or a seer, waiting to be revealed. And if that's true, if the water is already in the well, then everything we think we know about teaching, parenting, and learning is, well, it's upside down.
It's a radical shift. And I want to welcome everyone back to part 2 of our Gurukulam series. If you were with us for part 1, we talked about the environment, the forest, the lifestyle, the physical space of the Gurukulam.
The exterior.
We painted the picture of the exterior. But today we're going deep into the software. We're looking at the operating system of the Rishi mind.
And specifically, we're unpacking a concept that is almost entirely missing from modern Western discourse, yet it might be the single most important tool for the future of human intelligence. We're talking about Pramanas.
Pramanas. Now, I know what some listeners are thinking. Okay, sounds ancient, sounds Sanskrit, sounds abstract. Why does a parent sitting in Mumbai or Bangalore or Silicon Valley or London right now, why should they care about a concept from 5,000 years ago?
They should care because we are currently in a cognitive crisis. We're seeing record levels of stress, burnout, attention disorders, and anxiety in children.
It's everywhere.
We have teenagers who can code in Python but fall apart if they lose their Wi-Fi connection. We have brilliant students who cannot handle failure. The thesis we're exploring today is that these aren't just biological glitches. They're the result of a system that is trying to force a three-dimensional human being into a two-dimensional map.
That is a powerful image, a 2D map for a 3D world. Before we get too deep into the philosophy, I want to flag for our listeners that this isn't just theory. We are talking about this right now because there's a movement to bring this back.
Yes, Leela Gurukulam is doing some heavy lifting here. They aren't just talking about the rishis, they're reviving the methodology.
It's exactly. The timing of this deep dive is not accidental. Next week, specifically on Wednesday, February 25th, 2026, Leela Gurukulam is dropping something called the Exploring Pramanas Kit.
Right.
And what's really cool is that it's in English, and it's designed for ages 10 to adult. So this isn't a textbook for a PhD student. It's a toolkit for families.
Which is essential. You cannot learn swimming by reading a book about water. You have to get wet.
Right.
And you cannot understand pramanas just by listening to us. You have to practice them.
So keep that in the back of your mind as we go through this. We're going to break down the why and the what, but there is a very practical how coming to your doorstep soon. But let's start with a core tension. Section 1, the master key. You mentioned earlier that the Rishi paradigm prioritizes self-actualization before subject matter expertise.
Yes, that is the golden rule.
Now, I have to play the skeptical modern parent here. That sounds lovely. It sounds like something you'd hear at a wellness retreat. But in the real world, parents are worried about the IIT entrance exam. They're worried about SAT scores. They're worried about AI taking entry-level jobs. Isn't focusing on self-actualization a bit
Yeah.
soft? Is this a luxury we can't afford?
I would argue it's the exact opposite. In the economy of 2026, subject matter expertise is actually the fragile thing. It is the branches of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you spend 10 years mastering a specific coding language. You are the absolute expert. You know every syntax, every workaround.
You're the guy.
You're the guy. But then an AI model updates, or the industry shifts to a quantum paradigm, or the language is simply deprecated.
Right.
Suddenly your expertise is obsolete. You are a branch that has been cut off from the trunk. You wither.
We see this happening constantly. Specialists in a world that just canceled their specialty.
Precisely. But contrast that with the Rishi ideal. Someone who has mastered the self, someone who has what the texts call atmadnana, or self-knowledge, possesses metacognitive agility.
The cognitive agility.
They haven't just learned a subject. They have mastered the process of mastery itself. They have mastered their internal instrument, the antakarana.
Antakarana. Let's pause on that word.
Mm-hmm.
That refers to the inner psyche, the whole mental emotional toolkit.
Yes, the inner instrument. It comprises the mind, manas, the intellect, buddhi, the memory, chitak, and the ego, ahamkara. Think of it this way. Imagine you're a photographer. Your job is to take the most beautiful, accurate pictures of the world. Modern education spends 12 years teaching you about the landscape.
Okay, geography class, physics class.
Here is a mountain. Here is a river. Here is how light refracts. You know everything about the mountain,
Right.
but nobody, absolutely nobody, teaches you how to clean the lens of the camera. If the lens is dirty, if the mind is agitated, if the ego is insecure, if the focus is scattered, it doesn't matter how much you know about the landscape. The photo will come out distorted. This is what we call the mirror effect.
The mirror effect. So the mind is the mirror reflecting the world.
Yes. A dirty mirror reflects a distorted world. Now, apply this to our current reality. Take a scientist, brilliant at the landscape, knows all the data.
Sure.
But if their mirror is dirty, if they are driven by a desperate need for tenure or jealousy of a colleague or fear of losing funding, they might unconsciously bias their data. They might see what they need to see rather than what is.
That's a huge problem in academia. The publish or perish pressure actually distorts the science.
Or take a corporate leader. They know business strategy. That's the landscape. But if their internal mirror is cracked by deep insecurity, they create toxic work cultures.
Mm-hmm.
They project their internal chaos onto the external organization. They can't see the reality of their employees because they can't see the reality of themselves.
Wow. So the output, the science, the business strategy, the art is only as good as the mirror reflecting it.
Precisely. The goal of the Rishi was to clean the mirror first. That is self-actualization. When the mirror is clean, the external work, whether it's mathematics, warfare, or poetry, becomes a perfect reflection of Raita, or universal cosmic laws.
It's flawless because the instrument is flawless.
Exact.
This hits home for parenting, doesn't it? I mean, really think about how we allocate our resources. We get the chemistry tutor, we get the piano teacher, we get the soccer coach. We are obsessed with the subjects. But we rarely stop to ask, is the child's mirror clean? Can they focus? Can they handle failure? Is their hand steady?
We teach them to use the tools, the scalpel, the calculator, the coding language, without steadying the hand that holds the tool. And a sharp tool in an unsteady hand is dangerous.
It's dangerous to the user and everyone around them.
Exactly. This is why the Gurukulam system focuses on the student before the subject. Because if you create a stable, clear, self-aware human being, they can learn chemistry in a month, they can learn coding in a week.
Because there is no internal friction.
Zero internal friction.
That is the aha moment right there.
Yeah.
We think we're saving time by skipping the self-work and going straight to the content.
Yes.
But we're actually creating friction that slows them down for the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
We are building skyscrapers on swampland.
That is the perfect analogy. And eventually the building sinks, or it cracks.
Okay, so we need to stabilize the foundation. We need to clean the mirror. But how? This brings us to the core technical part of today's deep dive. The software of the Rishi mind. We threw the word around earlier, Pramanas.
Yes. This is where we have to get a little technical, but I promise it unlocks everything.
You mentioned earlier the idea of a 2D map in a 3D world. Can you break that down? What exactly is a Pramana?
Simply put, a pramana is a means of knowledge. It comes from the root ma, to measure. It is a valid way of knowing something. It's a channel through which information enters your consciousness and becomes truth, for you.
Okay, a channel of knowing, like a sensory input.
Yes, but more than just senses. In the modern education system, and in Western science generally, we rely almost entirely on two pramanas. Just two.
Which are?
Pratyaksha and anumana.
Let's define those for the listener who isn't fluent in Sanskrit. Pratyaksha is.
Perception. Sensory data. What you can see, hear, touch, taste, smell. I see the fire, so I know there is fire. It is empirical evidence.
Got it.
If I can't measure it, weigh it, or photograph it, it doesn't exist.
Okay, that's standard science.
And anumana.
Inference or logic.
Mm-hmm.
I see smoke on the mountain, so logically I infer there must be fire, even if I can't see the flames.
Mm-hmm.
It's the step-by-step deduction. If A equals B and B equals C, then A must equal C.
Okay, but hold on. Observation and logic. That covers pretty much everything, doesn't it? I mean, that's the scientific method. That's how we built airplanes, the internet, and the device people are listening to this on. What could possibly be missing?
It feels complete because we have been trained to think it is complete. But the rishis recognized 6 pramanas.
6.
6. Using only perception and logic is like trying to navigate a rich, complex, three-dimensional world using a flat 2D map. You can move forward and backward. That's logic. You can move left and right. That's observation.
Right.
But you have no concept of up or down. You miss the depth.
So we're raising our kids in a 2D education system while they are living in a 3D universe. And nowhere is this tragedy more apparent than in the story of Srinivasa Ramanujan.
Oh, Ramanujan, the man who knew infinity. I feel like everyone knows the movie version or the basic outline. Poor boy from India sends letters to Cambridge, turns out to be a genius.
Right.
But help us understand the Pramana version of his story, because it's deeper than just he was smart.
It is the Ramanujan paradox.
Yep.
Here was a man who is arguably one of the greatest mathematical geniuses to ever live. He produced thousands of theorems that we are still trying to unravel a century later.
And they're used in things like black hole theory.
In black hole theory, in string theory. But here is the kicker. He didn't derive his theorems through step-by-step logic initially. He didn't sit down and do anumana all day.
Right. He famously said his family goddess, Namakalaman, wrote the equations on his tongue in dreams, or he would just see them in drops of blood during visions. It sounds mystical.
To the Western mind, it sounds like hallucination or madness. But in the Rishi language, we would say he was accessing knowledge through parashabda. He was receiving the seed of the truth in a flash of transcendental insight.
So he saw the finished cathedral before he'd laid a single brick.
He had the 3D vision. He was hovering above the map. Exactly. But here is the tragedy. He was trying to communicate with the 2D world. He goes to Cambridge. He meets G.H. Hardy, brilliant man, absolutely brilliant, but a man of the modern system.
Right.
Hardy operated strictly on Vaikari.
Vaikari.
Vaikari is the spoken word, the written proof, the linear documentation. It is the final, most external stage of knowledge. Hardy kept saying, "This is brilliant, Srinivasa, but where is the proof? Show me the steps, show me the logic. How did you get from A to Z?"
And Ramanujan couldn't always do it.
He struggled immensely, not because he was wrong, he was almost always right, but because he hadn't been trained to build the bridge. The modern system around him discouraged the other pramanas like upamana, analogy, or arthapati, postulation, that could have helped him translate his cosmic vision into linear proofs. He was seeing the answer, but he didn't have the software to explain the path to the answer.
So it wasn't a lack of intelligence, it was a translation failure.
It was a tragedy of lost pramanas. He was speaking a 3D language to 2D listeners. He was a genius, trapped by a limited system of verification. And the stress of that. The stress of trying to squeeze his infinite mind into the finite boxes of Cambridge mathematics. It arguably contributed to his early death.
That is heartbreaking. And when you put it that way, it makes you wonder, how many Ramanujans are we losing today?
Oh.
How many kids have that paraflash, that intuitive leap, but they get crushed because they can't show their work in the exact linear way the teacher demands?
We are losing them by the millions. I truly believe that. We force them to count the leaves, the details, the facts, the dates, without ever showing them the seed.
Right.
The Rishi understands the seed. If you understand the seed of a concept, managing the branches, whether that's politics, science, or art, becomes intuitive. But if you only have the leaves, you are lost in the chaos of data.
You know, this connects directly to the so what for the parents listening. Because we aren't just talking about 1 in a billion geniuses like Ramanujan. We're talking about the crisis we see in regular classrooms every single day. The rise of ADHD, learning disorders, anxiety, behavioral issues.
Yes. And this is where the source material makes a very bold hypothesis. It challenges the medical model. It suggests that what we call learning disorders may not always be biological failures of the child. They might be a spiritual deficit in the system.
That's a heavy statement, a spiritual deficit.
Yeah.
We have to be careful here. Obviously, we aren't dismissing medical diagnoses or saying medication isn't sometimes necessary.
Of course not.
But the source is suggesting there's a root cause we are ignoring. What does that mean in this context?
It comes back to the layers of the self. In the Vedantic tradition, we talk about koshas, the sheaths covering the soul or the self. Imagine an onion.
Okay, layers of an onion.
The outermost layer is the Annamaya kosha, the physical body. Modern schooling is obsessed with this. Sit in the chair, hold the pencil, look at the board, don't wiggle.
Check. Controlling the body is step one.
Then there's the Vishnamaya kosha, the intellect, the logic machine. Memorize this, calculate that, analyze this text.
Check. That's the curriculum.
But look at what is sandwiched between them. The Manamaya kosha.
The mind layer.
The emotional and mental processing layer, the realm of feeling, imagination, intuition, and memory. This is the bridge.
I see.
The Manamaya kosha is the bridge between the inner wisdom and the outer expression. And modern education almost completely ignores it, or worse, suppresses it.
Oh, so.
Well, if a child says, I feel like this is the answer, the teacher says, feelings aren't facts. If a child is daydreaming, which is the Manamaya active, the teacher says, pay attention. We systematically invalidate the emotional and intuitive layer.
So we block the bridge.
We block the bridge. Now imagine a river flowing from the soul. It hits this blocked bridge of the Manamaya kosha. The water has nowhere to go. The pressure builds.
And when pressure builds up in a pipe with no outlet?
It bursts. That burst manifests as frustration. It manifests as hyperactivity, the body moving because the energy is stuck. It manifests as an inability to focus because the mind is screaming.
And then we label it.
And then we label it clinically as ADHD.
This completely reframes the conversation.
Yeah.
We usually think of ADHD as a deficit of attention. You're saying it might be a surplus of inner energy meeting a deficit of outlet?
It is a vibrational mismatch. Children are naturally high vibration beings. They live in the world of imagination, story, connection. That is their reality. But the external environment of a modern school is purely informational. It's rigid, dry facts, it's low vibration.
And let's not forget the sensory environment. It's loud.
That is the other factor, sensory overload. To learn deeply, especially to access those subtler pramanas we talked about, you need stillness. You need the ability to hear the shabda, the sound or vibration of the knowledge.
But walk into a modern classroom, even a good one. It's visually cluttered. There are bright posters everywhere, screens flashing, announcements on the PA, 30 kids talking, chairs scraping.
It is high decibel chaos. In that environment, the mind becomes scattered. The child cannot tune in to the frequency of knowledge, so they disconnect. They check out to protect themselves.
And we call that a learning disability.
But really, it's a failure of the environment to provide the stillness required for deep learning.
It's like trying to listen to a whisper at a heavy metal concert. You can't do it, so you just zone out or leave.
Exactly. And because we don't understand the mechanism, we blame the listener. We say, why can't you hear the whisper? What's wrong with your ears? When we should be turning down the music.
That is a lot to process. It makes you look at a struggling kid in a totally different light. It's not what's wrong with you, it's what's blocking your flow. I want to go back to something you touched on with Ramanujan, the idea of para and vikari. The source material outlines the 4 stages of speech. This feels like the missing link in how we teach kids to think.
Yes.
Can we walk through this ladder?
Absolutely. This is the journey of an idea. It's the descent of creativity. It applies to writing a poem, solving a math problem, or starting a business.
Okay. Where does it start?
It starts at para. This is the flash, the eureka moment. It's transcendental. You don't have words for it yet. You just know it. It is the seed of the idea, complete in itself.
Okay. The light bulb going off.
Then it descends to pashanti. Pashanti means that which is seen. This is where the idea starts to take a visual form in the mind. You can see the concept. It has a shape, a color, a texture.
Like the mental image. I see how the bridge should look. Or I see the shape of the molecule.
Exactly. Then it comes down to madhyama. This is the mental dialogue. You're starting to put words to it in your head. You're talking to yourself about it. You are drafting the sentence before you speak it. You are translating the image into language.
Okay. How do I explain this bridge to the engineers?
And finally, Vaikari, the spoken word, the written test, the external output, the sound that leaves your mouth.
So it's a ladder.
Yeah.
Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikari.
It is a ladder. And here is the disconnect in our schools. Children are often very connected to para. They have these amazing creative smikes. They are naturally intuitive. But schools demand they jump straight to Vaihari.
Write the essay, solve the problem, show your work.
Right now, immediately, without the scaffolding, without the training to bring that flash down through the layers.
It's like asking a child to describe a beautiful, complex dream they had, full of emotion and color, but you tell them, you can only use binary code, zeros and ones, go.
That is a perfect analogy. They can't do it. The bandwidth of the tool, the binary code, the Vaihari isn't wide enough for the vision, for the dream, the para, so they get frustrated.
And they give up.
They throw the pencil, they say, I'm stupid, they say, I hate school. They give up.
And we lose the genius.
We lose the genius because we didn't teach them the translation protocol. We didn't teach them how to use Upamana analogy to explain their dream. We didn't teach them arthropody to postulate. We just demanded the final answer.
We demanded the fruit without watering the root.
Exactly.
This brings us to the consequence of all this. If we don't teach them this self-mastery, if we don't teach them how to translate their inner genius, what do they become?
They become tool users.
Tool users. That sounds passive.
It is dependency. Because they haven't mastered the self, they become dependent on the external. They rely on the calculator because they can't hold the numbers in their head.
Right.
They rely on the AI to write the essay because they can't bridge the gap from their own para to Vaikari. They rely on Google for answers.
We see this everywhere. I hear parents say, why should my kid learn to write? ChatGPT can do it. Why learn math? The phone does it.
And that is a dangerous, dangerous mindset. Because a tool user is not a creator. A tool user is replaceable. A creator is not.
The source had a quote about this that stuck with me. We are asking them to be architects while giving them only the dust of the information age.
Yes. Information is just dust. It's raw material. Wisdom is the architecture. If you only have dust, you can't build a shelter. You're just standing in a storm holding a handful of sand.
And this leads to a very practical point about career and future-proofing our kids. We worry so much about them surviving the job market, we push them to specialize early. Be a coder. Be a data scientist.
But the irony is, the specialist is the most vulnerable person in the market of the future.
How so? We're always told to specialize. Niche down.
If you only master a subject, say, you are the best accountant in the world. You are at the mercy of the market demand for accountants. If AI replaces accounting or if the economy crashes, your value crashes.
You're helpless.
You're helpless because your identity is tied to the tool.
You are a one-trick pony in a world that just canceled the circus.
Exactly. But the rishi, the one who has mastered the self, they have samatvam, equanimity.
Samatvam.
It means their internal stability is not dependent on external chaos. They can handle failure. They can handle success, which is often harder to handle. They can pivot. If accounting disappears, they use their metacognitive agility to become a bioengineer or a philosopher or a farmer. They know how to learn. They know how to clean the mirror and look at a new landscape.
So self-actualization is actually the ultimate career safety net.
It is the only safety net that never breaks. Because it's inside you. No market crash can take away your antakarana.
Okay, so we're sold. I think every parent listening is sold. We don't want to raise broken hard drives. We want to uncover the wells. We want to polish the mirrors. But how?
Yeah.
This sounds like years of meditation in a Himalayan cave. How does a normal family in a two-bedroom apartment do this?
It doesn't require a cave.
Yeah.
The rishis were not just ascetics. Many were householders. But it does require pramana training.
Polishing the mirror at the dinner table.
Yes. We need to provide the scaffolding for those inner revelations to make it to the outside world. We need to teach the child, okay, you have a feeling about this answer. That is intuition. Now, how do we use logic, Anumana, to test if that feeling is true? How do we use observation, pratyaksha, to verify it?
So it's not about rejecting logic. It's not about rejecting science.
Not at all. It's about integrating it. It's using all 6 pramanas as a ladder, helping them descend from para to vaikari without losing the essence. It's about being whole.
And this is why I want to go back to the kit we mentioned at the top, because Leela Gurukulam has actually packaged this into something tangible.
Yes, the Exploring Pramanas kit.
I've seen the previews of this, and what strikes me is that it's not a textbook. It's not a lecture series. It's designed as an exploration.
And critically, it is for ages 10 to adult.
Which means
parents are supposed to do it with their children. This is vital.
The shared journey.
You cannot teach what you do not know. Most parents today, you and me included, are also stuck in the 2D map. We are also victims of the modern education system.
Sure.
We also feel that frustration of unexpressed potential. So this kit is a way for the parent and child to sit down and say, hey, how do we know what we know? Let's look at this optical illusion that's prachaksha deceiving us. Now, how do we correct it with logic?
It's mirror polishing for the whole family.
It is. It's reestablishing the software of the Rishi mind in the modern living room. It's taking the abstract philosophy and making it a game, a discussion, a practice.
And just to remind everyone, that drops next week, Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. If you're listening to this, you're probably already interested in the Gurukulam method, and this seems like the logical next step from theory to practice.
It is the first step of steadying the hand.
Steadying the hand before you use the tool. I love that.
It is the most important investment you can make. Before you buy the iPad, before you pay for the coding camp, buy the kit that teaches them how to use their own mind.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we've covered a lot. The vessel versus the source, the tragedy of Ramanujan, the spiritual deficit behind learning disorders, the journey from para to Vaikari.
It is a lot to take in. It challenges a lot of our assumptions about what school is for.
It does.
Yeah.
But if we boil it down, what is the final thought? What is the provocation we want to leave our listeners with today?
I would say this. Look at the difference between an architect and a seer. An architect works with materials that already exist. Bricks, steel, glass, concrete. They rearrange what is there.
Right.
A seer or drashta sees what could exist. They see the unseen. They bring the new into the world.
Ooh.
If every child has the potential to be a drashta, then our current education system is acting like a blindfold.
We're blinding them.
We are blinding the seers because we only value the architects.
That is a chilling thought.
Our mission as parents, as educators, must be to remove the blindfold, to move from being passive consumers of information, just eating the dust of the past, to being active generators of wisdom.
Active generators of wisdom.
That is the Rishi paradigm. It's not about going back to the past. It's about retrieving the tools of the past to build a sane future.
So the call to action for you, the listener, is simple but profound. Tonight, when you look at your child, don't look at their grades. Don't look at the hard drive. Don't worry about whether they memorized the periodic table yet. Look for the well. Look for the hidden source. And ask yourself, what tool does this child need to help them bring that water to the surface?
Is it logic? Is it analogy? Is it simply the silence to hear their own thoughts?
Find the pramana they are missing, and you might just unlock the genius.
And that is a journey worth taking.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking it with us today on the Deep Dive. Keep digging, keep polishing that mirror, and check out the Exploring Pramanas kit on the 25th. We'll catch you in the next one.